Hello everyone, and welcome to game number 5 of the 2013 World Chess Championship match between Viswanathan Anand and Magnus Carlsen. If you've seen my previous videos on this match, you know that the result so far has been all 4 games were drawn, and now Carlsen once again has the white pieces. So he will try something different in this round, and it was, every chess player in the world was following this chess championship, and it's interesting, move by move, every move they made, there was like a Twitter campaign, and every chess player in the world posted something on Twitter about every move. So I have some of the tweets ready for this game, so hope you will enjoy this as well. Not really having the best of luck finding any photos from round 5. I did find one. This is one from round 5, probably during the opening, but it's really funny. So many photographers and so few photos of this match. So let's see it. Carlsen has the white pieces and he opens with c4, the English opening. So far he tried knight to f3, but he didn't really get any results in those games, so going for the English now. We have e6, the Agincourt defense, d4, d5, and knight to c3. And Anand goes c6. So keeping all of his options open and, checking to see what Carlsen will play. And here we have the first move by Carlsen that really surprises everyone, Anand and everyone. e4. This is the Marshal's Gambit of the Queen's Gambit, and of the Queen's Gambit declined, and it's an extremely sharp variation. Here I prepared a nice tweet for this moment. Here you can see Anish Giri posted this. He says, "Wow, Carlsen going for the sharpest line. Did he lose his mind?" So it's the sharpest line because after d captures on e4, which was played in the game, knight captures on e4, comes the bishop to b4 check. Anand does play bishop to b4, and this is the sharp line that everyone was hoping to see from Carlsen. Bishop blocks, now comes queen captures on d4, and after bishop captures on b4, then queen captures on e4 with check. Knight to e2, and black does have an extra pawn here, but white has the bishop pair, and his pieces are a bit more active. This bishop is preventing the king from castling for now, and it's very interesting that it's impossible to grab even the second pawn, because then queen to d6 is coming, and it's gonna be very hard to play this position with black. Knight d7, knight c3 is coming, preventing black from exchanging queens. Black will be 2 pawns up, but with a very passive position, and white would of course enjoy playing this. But after this bishop to b4 check, it seems Carlsen didn't want to test Anand's preparation in this very sharp line, so he plays knight to c3. And here we have another quote, another tweet by Giri. He says, 6 knight c3, take my words back, still the same Magnus there. So now everyone sees that Carlsen isn't interested in this, but he plays a normal move, keeping everything still open. We have c5, now comes a3, and bishop to a5. Bishop captures on c3, also possible after b captures, simply keep on developing, but Anand prefers not giving up the bishop pair so early in the game. So after a3, bishop to a5, and now comes knight to f3. Knight to f6, bishop to e3, and Anand plays knight to c6. Anand wants Carlsen to capture the pawn on c5. If Carlsen goes for the pawn with d captures on c5, then bishop captures on c3. B captures, and now look at these tripled pawns. This is a terrible position for white. Black can either exchange queens, he can keep the tension going with queen to a5, castling is also an option. So not the thing you want to do with the white pieces. Carlsen plays queen to d3, a very nice move, preventing this knight from jumping to e4, also maybe preparing queenside castle in some variations, and keeping an eye on c3, so if bishop eventually does capture, the queen can also capture back. So c captures on d4, knight captures on d4, and now we have knight to g4. Anand correctly evaluates the position, and he wants to grab one of the bishops so Carlsen will definitely lose the bishop pair here. And Carlsen goes for a queenside castle, a very bold decision. Anand does capture the bishop. We have knight captures, f captures on e3, and here, if you check out this position, Anand is definitely better here. Carlsen's pawn structure is a bit has deteriorated a bit. He has 3 pawn islands, Anand has 2 pawn islands, and Anand still has the bishop pair. So the only thing Carlsen has for him in this position is a bit more development. So Anand should definitely keep on developing here, either by castling, by going queen to e7. Here, knight captures on d4, also an option. But here Anand played a move that everyone was baffled with. He played bishop to c7, and this allows Carlsen to immediately go for the endgame and mess up Anand's pawn structure as well. So Carlsen does play it. He plays knight captures on c6, b captures, and now queen captures on d8. Bishop captures on d8. And if you look at this position now, instead of having a better pawn structure and everything on the board, Carlsen's king position was a bit loose. Now Anand also has 3 pawn islands, and the only thing he really has going for him is the bishop pair. But it's not all that much. If you don't get the bishop pair working, then the bishop pair isn't very strong. If you remember the Ivanchuk's Immortal against Garry Kasparov. And here we do have one quote by Garry Kasparov himself. He says on Twitter, again, Carlsen got next to nothing in the opening. Amazed Anand went into the endgame, could take on d4, keep queens on, very different game. So in that position where Anand played bishop to c7, here where Anand went bishop to c7 and allowed this endgame, Kasparov said just simply capture on d4, keep the queens on the board, and Kasparov loves attacking, he loves activity, so this is probably what he would have gone for. But okay, this is what was played, and we reach this endgame. Bishop to e2, Carlsen wants to go to f3 with this bishop, and maybe take advantage of this weak pawn. King to e7. Bishop to f3, and now bishop to d7, defending. So Anand does have the bishop pair, but it's still a very passive bishop pair. Knight to e4. We have bishop to b6 and now c5. Carlsen doesn't allow Anand to activate his bishops. We have f5, and now he can either move the bishop back or he can give up the bishop pair and go for even some more exchanges. So Anand evaluates this as good for black. f5, we have pawn captures knight, and now Anand probably saw here bishop captures and a captures on b6, and black is perfectly fine here. But after this f captures on e4, Anand missed a very simple idea that slightly improves Carlsen's game, his pawn structure and the game. So instead of recapturing immediately, try to pause the video and try to find a nice in-between move for Carlsen. So I will give it a couple of seconds as usual. So for those of you who were able to do this, congratulations, you are an excellent endgame player. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's quite, seems simple, but, b7. So now black has to react to this. He cannot capture the bishop and allow b captures on a7. So rook a to b8 was played, and only now bishop captures on e4. Rook captures on b7, and now rook h to f1. Carlsen fully mobilized his forces, and instead of having this pawn from a7 come to b6 by recapturing Carlsen's pawn, Carlsen pushed it to b7, and now instead of having that position where Anand had the better pawn structure and the better game, now Carlsen does have this little advantage. The material is completely equal on the board. Both players have a light square bishop, 2 rooks, but now Carlsen has 3 pawn islands and Anand has 4. And you all know, rooks really like those lonely pawns. So rook to b5. This is one move that was very much praised on the internet at the time Anand played it. It's a very nice move. Carlsen goes for rook to f4 and now g5, kicking the rook back. Rook to f3 and h5 now. So Carlsen will definitely double rooks on the f file. Rook d to f1, bishop to e8, and now bishop back to c2. Rook to c5. Rook to e5 was slightly better here, keeping an eye on this e3 pawn, as this does prevent Carlsen's next move. But okay, rook to c5, pinning the bishop here. Bishop to g6 would definitely be an idea that would exchange a lot of pieces. But Carlsen goes rook to f6, preventing this, and really increases the activity of his rook. And Anand's h8 rook is still completely out of the game. So we have h4 and now e4. Now bishop to g6 will no longer be a threat even if the rook moves. We have a5, king to d2, rook to b5 now attacking the pawn, b3, bishop to h5, and now king to c3. Rook to c5 check and king to b2. Now Carlsen's king is safely tucked away. Rook to d8, and finally Anand manages to activate his h8 rook. We have rook 1 to f2, rook to d4 attacking the e4 pawn, and now comes rook to h6. Bishop to d1, hoping to exchange bishops, but now Carlsen plays bishop to b1, a very nice move. Rook to b5, here attacking the b3 pawn, and here king to c3. This is the only move that allows Carlsen to play this position on. We have king to c3, defending the pawn by attacking Anand's rook on d4. We have c5, defending the rook, and now rook to b2. We have e5, solidifying that rook on e4. Rook to g6, now going for the g5 pawn, and we have a4. Carlsen plays rook captures on g5, rook captures on b3 with check, rook captures, and now bishop captures on b3. Rook captures on e5 with check, king d6, and now rook back to h5. And if you look at this position, Carlsen has now won a pawn, but Anand's position is very active. So this king, Carlsen's king doesn't really have all that many squares, and this position should be, Anand should be able to hold this position to a draw. Rook to d1, attacking Carlsen's bishop. We have e5 now with check, king moves, and now bishop to h7, going for some bishop to g8 ideas. And this is the critical moment in the game. Here Anand played rook to c1 with check. The correct idea was actually rook to a1, simply going after the a3 pawn. And after bishop to g8 check, king moves, now bishop captures on b3, first rook captures on a3. That's the whole point. Now the bishop is pinned, and black will simply recapture this. King c4, and now capturing this with the a pawn, and now the material is equal, and this will be played out to a draw. But here, after bishop to h7, rook to c1 check was played. We have king to b2, and now rook back to g1. And here we also have a very nice tweet by Nakamura. He says that he's truly baffled by each of Anand's moves from move 39 onwards, but especially this rook to c1 move that we've just mentioned. After rook to g1, attacking the pawn, we have bishop to g8 check, king c6, and now rook to h6 check, first improving the position before exchanging bishops. King d7, and now comes bishop captures on b3. A captures on b3, and now king captures on b3. So, being up 2 pawns now. Rook captures on g3, and now rook captures on h4. Now Carlsen is up 2 pawns, and this position is now winning for white. We have king to e6, we have a4, past pawns must be pushed. King captures on e5, and now a5. King to d6, rook to h7, king to d5, and now a6. c4, king to c3, rook to a2. You have to keep an eye on this passed pawn. Pawn comes to a7. Here king to c5 was played, and here Carlsen just played h4, and black cannot keep an eye on both the a pawn and the h pawn. So in this position, on move 58, Viswanathan Anand resigned, and a first victory in this World Chess Championship match goes to Magnus Carlsen. So first 4 games were drawn. Here a very nice victory by Magnus Carlsen, and here we have, after this game was played, Garry Kasparov tweeted his famous tweet, and that is why I used this quote above the board. You can see it's a quote by Zibert Tarash: "Before the end game, the gods have placed the middle game." And then Garry Kasparov, after this game, tweeted that Tarash said, "Before the end game, the gods have placed the middle game. Sadly for Anand, in the end game, the gods have placed Carlsen." So yeah, by winning this game, Carlsen definitely shows that there is a new era in chess, as there is a World Chess Championship challenger is able to impose his will against a world champion in an equal endgame. So this is something very, very tough to deal with for Anand. And Garry Kasparov was, of course, very happy about this, as Carlsen is his student after all, and Anand tried to take away the World Chess Championship title from Kasparov, and now Kasparov's student is trying to take away the World Chess Championship title from from Viswanathan Anand, his old rival. So a very interesting game and a very interesting set of choices. You know, it's not all that weird Anand missed this rook to c1 check idea. It's not like you will give Anand this position and he will miss the idea. Of course not, but Carlsen's endgame was so strong that he forces you to make the best decision every move. And if you don't do it every move for 40 moves or 50, 60 moves on, you will lose the game. So yeah, a very nice game by Carlsen. I do hope you enjoyed it. As usual, I will put a couple of useful links in the description below. Also, there will be a link to the press conference after this game was played. Carlsen and Anand both will talk about some of the moves that we've mentioned, so you're welcome to check it out. It's not a long video; it's some 7 minutes video, so feel free to check that out as well. So yeah, I would like to thank Mr. I. Mackenzie and Philip Gregory for a contribution to my channel. Thank you all for watching. As usual, you can check all my previous videos here. I will make both of them games from this World Chess Championship match. And once again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy the festival now that's going on in my hometown. So see you soon.